The Imaging Center of Smith College has a variety of wonderful resources for students and faculty to use. Today, we are featuring the analog cameras the Imaging Center has available. We have access to a Nikon F3, a Pentax K1000, and an Olympus OM2S. You can check these out at the Imaging Center. Analog cameras shoot on light-sensitive film. You can have better dynamic range and higher sensitivity when shooting with an analog camera, in addition to capturing more depth and detail than with a DSLR camera. Depending on what kind of picture you are trying to take, you will need to use different film. You can always ask your professor or Imaging Center staff for recommendations as to what film you should use for a given project. Essential elements of an analog camera include the lens, the aperture dial, the shutter speed dial, the film advance lever, the focus ring, the rewind button, and the film dial. We'll refer back to most of these things during the rest of the video. The Olympus and Pentax cameras use similar mechanisms to this Nikon camera. The main difference is that the Nikon F3 has a locking function. We'll demonstrate with the Nikon F3. First, push the small lever towards the right. As you push, pull the film dial straight up to open the back of the camera. While the camera is open, take care not to touch the shutter or the pressure plate. Insert your film canister into the slot here, flat side up. To hold the canister in place, push down on the film dial. Any film that you pull out of the canister will be exposed to light. With that in mind, pull the film gently across towards the reel on the right. Slide the tail of the film into the slot here. Push this forwards as far as you can. Be careful to keep the film as straight and flat as possible. Move the film advance crank to advance the film. If the film is loaded properly, the film dial will move in unison with the crank. If not, you'll need to reload. Once these move in sync, you can close the camera and return the dial to its original position. In order to have an accurate light meter reading, you must be sure that the camera ISO matches the ISO of your film. In this case, our film is Kodak T-Max 400, so we want to set the camera to ISO 400. So how do we take a picture with an analog camera? First, make sure the lens cap is off. Then, you'll need to advance the film with the film advance lever. This sets up the film to be exposed. Note that the Nikon light meter won't work unless the film advance lever is at 1. After doing this, look through the viewfinder and check the light meter. Just like it sounds, the light meter shows you how much light you'll be exposing that frame of film to. Light meters are visible through the viewfinders. With the Nikon F3, you have a shutter lock. Move this lock to show the red dot. Then, check your light meter. The LCD display shows your chosen shutter speed and plus-minus signs. It will show a plus sign if overexposed, a minus sign if underexposed, and both when correctly exposed. Next to this display, the camera also shows your chosen aperture. With the Pentax K1000, you want the light meter to be balanced in the middle. Above the midpoint is overexposed, while under it is underexposed. With the Olympus, in the manual setting, the light meter works similarly to the Pentax. You want the bar to end at the middle of the scale. If the light meter is not moving, ask the Imaging Center staff about battery. Once your light meter shows a neutral reading, you can press the shutter and take your photo. Using the shutter release is essential if you want to take a long-distance selfie, shoot with a long exposure, especially any longer than 1/30th of a second, and to reduce shakiness overall. The shutter release has 2 modes, one that will hold the shutter down and one that releases it. Usually, you'll use the instant releasing mode, as seen here. But if you're shooting at a bulb shutter speed, you can use the locking function to keep the shutter open until you manually release it. If you want to use the lock-unlock function, you twist the lower ridge dial counterclockwise and press down on the flat top. Choose the mode for the shutter release before you screw it into the camera. To use the shutter release, you screw it into the center of the shutter button and press down on the disc. The shutter release screws directly into the shutter. Be careful not to press down while screwing this in. After screwing the shutter release in, press on the flat top to take the picture. When you finish shooting, you need to unload your film. First, find the rewind button at the bottom of the camera. Press this in. Then, pull up on the film rewind handle. Notice the arrow and turn the handle in that direction until there is no resistance. Now, the film should be fully rewound and you can open the camera back by pulling up on the dial. We hope you've enjoyed our video today and that you'll have fun using analog cameras in the future.